Hey guys and gals, I just wanted to say before we get into today's video that this is definitely a real world shot of anything that can go wrong, will go wrong, constantly adjusting, constantly changing our plan. What I started out to do in the beginning of the video is not where we landed, so, well, I could talk all about it or you could just watch the episode. So here it is. Welcome back, fellow shop rats. Today, other than cleaning up a huge bunch of mess in the shop, which I won't be sharing with you, today I'm back on the $500 paint job. We got to finish the prep on this, get things cleaned up, get it all masked up, and get it ready to finally shoot the color on this truck. There's a job of work here to get done, so rather than standing here talking about it, I need to start cleaning, and it's cold in here, so the heat come up 20 degrees. It's 60 in here now. It was about 38 or so when I came out here earlier today. But we got stuff to do, so let's get after it. I'm Mike.
This is My Cars Shop.
Well, there we go. That's done. All the steering column stuff from that project is all put away. The paint stuff is back over there on its little table. So we're ready to move forward. I got to evaluate what needs to happen here, how I want to do this, but we need to mask either the entire cab or we need to just mask off what's painted inside the cab, and I'm leaning towards doing it that way. I was thinking about masking the entire cab, just masking off all the windows and everything. But I think that maybe a bit overkill. I'm not sure yet, but obviously we don't want to get overspray onto the stuff that we've already painted and what's nice and pretty and white. So got to do some thinking, but there's also some sanding to do on the back of the cab. And we've got to just go through and clean this thing up and find any bare metal spots and touch them with the rattle can primer and all kinds of little detail stuff that drives you nuts, but it's very, very important to do, and I feel is important to share with you because, as always, it's about spending the day here in the shop and sharing the real world of what doing something like this is like. So if you haven't been on this whole series, um, the whole point of this project is just to cheap and dirty, quick, get it done. Well, I won't say quick anymore because it's been here for, a year, I guess. But maybe not quite that long, but I bet it's close. So we're not doing a lot of block sanding. We already did some of that. The goal is not to make the truck show quality flat as far as its panel flatness and stuff like that. The paint that we're using is an inexpensive water-based truck and automotive paint by Magic, and we're painting it white. So therefore, if there are some minor imperfections in the body, you're not going to see them because of the color, because it's not super high gloss. It's more of an eggshell or semi-gloss, I suppose. It's got shine to it, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be polished and all that stuff. So a lot of what I'm doing is just prepping the primer. We used the U-Pole uh, urethane primer on this, basically a 2K primer, and just scuffing everything down so that that paint will stick, especially since it's been in primer for a long time. We want to make sure that we have good uh, scratches in it as far as 320 or Scotch-Brite scratches for that top coat to fit. Remember that with this paint, there's no fixing it. as far as, you know, if we mess something up and we get a big problem in the paint or we get a big run, it's either going to be what it is or we're going to have to wait for it to cure out and then sand it down and reshoot it. So, but I think I got the whole truck done now. I went over it with the DA real quick just to scuff it up with 320 and then finished it off with the Scotch Brite, red Scotch Brite. And I think it's going to be more than adequate for this. I think it's going to look pretty darn respectable. So, I don't know if I have enough prep sol to do this. We may have to make a road trip. Oops, I missed a spot. And it's part of the reason I like going over everything with prep sol as well, because I will find spots that I missed. Maybe the next step here is to just go around. I know I created a couple bare metal spots here today. Just go around and get those bare metal spots touched up with a rattle can so that can dry before we hit it with prep sol. Oh, that's something. Huh. Must have scratched it with the hose right there. Let's fix that real quick. All fixed. Again, if that was a flat panel, we wouldn't do that because you'd have a wave in the paint. Of course, here on the corner of a cab, we could get away with it even if it was a show job. But where did I put that? Scotch Brite. Well, here's one. Another one I used on this truck. I used this one on my DA pad. I just found another spot here that wasn't as addressed as I would like. Well, I just realized that 100% I have to make a road trip. I have a little bit of prep sol, but I have absolutely no shop towels. So we've got to make a quick road trip to Wally World and maybe O'Reilly's. I'm not sure if Wally has prep sol or not, but I'm quite sure O'Reilly's or AutoZone or one of those will. So better go grab 6 or 8 bags of gold and head up to the store real quick. So we'll be back shortly, I promise, unless something happens and then we're not, but we should be. Well, nobody had prep sol at the big 3 box store auto parts, and the regular auto parts is closed. But I did find, well, I won't say they didn't have any. I wanted a gallon. They didn't have any what I call prep sol wax and grease remover, but they had this wax and tar remover. And from everything I'm reading on it, it sounds like it's the same stuff. So what maybe I'll do is I'll wipe this truck down with this first, and then I'll go over it with my commercial grade industrial prep sol and see how it works. But this is Rust-Oleum wax and tar remover. It was like 12 bucks. Not terribly expensive. Picked up a couple rolls of this. One thing I've noticed about paper towels is the price on these has at least doubled, but at least they're making the rolls over half the size of what they used to be. They're just a lot smaller. So that's really good value for your money. It's really good indicator on the way this whole world is going right now. The first thing I'm liking, and I never thought of this before, is having prep sol in a squirt bottle instead of just a can. So even when this is gone, if I don't like this product, I may use this and put my stuff out of my gallon jug. But to tell you, $12 for a quart, and I think I'm paying $20 to $25 for a gallon at the commercial. So commercial grade stuff. Actually, doesn't have much smell at all. This truck has been sitting for a long time. Ooh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It's taken, it almost looks like it's taken some of the primer up. Yeah, it is. Not liking that. So we won't be using that for that. Well, poo. Unless there's overspray on here. Let me get my other wax and grease remover and do a little of that. I know what that stuff acts like, and this is not acting like that. I questioned when it was wax and tar remover, but it says use it before sanding and then use it after sanding before you put your top coats on. And everything I read about it said it was basically just a regular prep sol type product. It's just got a different name. So actually, I have two. I have a can from Eastwood here somewhere, but my regular prep sol's over there. So I'm going to grab that. We'll see how that compares to what this was doing. There is not enough here to do the whole vehicle, that's for sure. May have to wait till next week. Yeah, totally different. That stuff, this stuff, when you put it on, it's like water, and it's not biting in. That stuff, you could tell it was biting in. I don't like that at all. I probably have enough here to get this done first time around, so we'll get that done, and then it's going to have to wait till next week for me to get some more. But that's all right. That's the way it goes, you know. Well, that's a bummer. I questioned it, like I said, when it said wax and tar, but everything I read on the can and online said it was it was just under a different name. So live and learn. All right, now I'm just going to go through with a rattle can and hit the spots that there are just bare metal showing through. Again, you want to get it on there fairly wet, otherwise it could potentially not stick. I think there was anything else on this side. There's some work I got to do on the roof yet also. I found some goofy stuff up there. So let's see, what do we got here? Start here at the fender. See if we see any shiny metal right there. Don't see anything else. I saw a spot of rust. There's a little bare metal spike. There's some bare metal right there. That's not the rust though. Okay. Where was that? Right there, right there. Oh, something must have fallen against the truck. It's got a divot in there. Let's see if we can get that cleaned up. I got an old piece of 220 here, 320. Yeah, it's pretty bad shape. Let me figure out what I want to use here. Maybe we'll just grab a new piece of 320. Just hit that real quick. I tore this piece anyway, so Not going to work real well for the DA. So we'll just fold it over itself. Oh yeah, there's been a lot of people in and out of here in the last few months. Somebody must have dropped something or knocked something over against it. I know I didn't for sure. And it went through the primer and definitely caused a little rust. And there's a little dubadabra of looks like grease there. Okay, I think we got that cleaned up pretty good there now. I'm going to go over it a little bit more like that just so we keep it flat so that we don't create a situation. Okay. Okay, now we go back here. We'll be able to use, oh, there's one there. And there's one there. If you've ever worked in a body shop, at least the ones I've worked in, this is a very common practice to just go through and after you're done all blocking everything out. If you got a few, this has got more than normal, but again, work truck. If you got a couple little spots like that where you got your metal shining through, you just grab a good high quality can. This is a Rust-Oleum, so it's not as high end as I would be using on, body shop environment, but for this vehicle, it's going to work just fine. And just touch up those bare metal spots before you hit your vehicle, with the actual paint that you're going to put on it. You just want to make sure that, because the paint won't, especially new modern base coats, they don't stick real well to bare metal. So this stuff would, so I'm not too worried about it, the water base we're using, but it's just a habit. I like to make sure that all that stuff is touched up. You've heard me say it so many times, MKS is real world. This is real world. So we ran into a snafu. We got done what we could do. Now, you may say, well, why aren't you going ahead and masking everything up? 2 reasons. That paint is still fairly fresh. This building is not heated except for the times I'm out here. It's only been a little over a week since we painted inside of there. I don't want to put tape on that fresh paint and then peel it off and have it potentially peel the paint because the paint isn't 100% cured yet, especially with a product like this that I'm still learning. I've only used it as much to paint the inside of the doors, the door jambs, and now the inside of the cab. So I'm being super careful like that. What I want to do is the day that we're going to paint, I was hoping to have this wrapped up and be able to maybe paint it tomorrow or Monday. Today is Saturday after Thanksgiving. But I don't feel comfortable not knowing whether I'm going to be able to get it painted in the next day or two, and therefore I'm not going to put tape on that fresh paint for that reason. Second thing, which I've talked about before, you may look and say, well, there's tape all over everything. What are you talking about? You're a hypocrite. Well, I am a hypocrite. I don't deny that, but none of that tape is on fresh paint. It's all on old paint or on window frames or rubber seals. I'm not worried about that peeling stuff off. I painted a red 57 Chevy for a buddy of mine years ago and wasn't careful taking the tape off, left it a little longer than I should, and ended up peeling up some paint. Fortunately, it was under the trim, and we were able to just touch it up and we didn't have to go ahead and respray the whole quarter panel. Lessons you learn the hard way over years and years and years of doing this work. Now, I'm not a painter. I've painted professionally, yes, but I've not painted in a production environment in a body shop. When I worked in body shops, I was always the fab guy, the sheet metal guy, and the prep guy. So I would weld on the panels or fabricate the panels and then finish the panels off. And half the time I didn't even spray the primer on it. Somebody else did. And then I would come in and block it after it had set and so on and so on. So I painted a lot, and I can only tell you what I know based upon my limited amount of experience having painted, I don't know, between repairs and full paint jobs, I probably painted 100 cars. I've probably done full paint jobs on 25, 30. Maybe a little more than that. I don't know. I'd have to go back through and think. But so I'm only sharing what I've learned, and so I'm erring on the side of that caution for that reason. The second thing is I want to blow this all off one more time. I want to wipe it all down really good with some super Prepsol using the 2-rag method, not like I used today because I didn't have enough to really drench it, so that you apply it with one rag and wipe it off with the next one. And that will get the papers soaked and wet and can potentially also cause adhesion problems in the long run, and then you end up getting overspray where you didn't intend. So I'm going to hold off on masking everything down until I'm sure I'm going to be able to paint it within a day or two, until I'm sure that I've gone over it good with the Prepsol and that everything is covered. I've gone over it. I've got the roof all straightened out. There was one flaw in the roof that I fixed. There's a couple other little treats coming on that too that I'll leave that as a surprise to you. But I think I got all the bare metal. So time-wise, this is going to work out pretty well because that'll give that rattle can stuff a chance to set up a little bit and shrink, because it will. Lacquer shrinks terribly. So we'll leave the heat on out here as much as we can over the next day or two and just leave it until I can get some good Prepsol, and then we'll go from there. I really think there's more for you to be learned in doing things like this than there would be if I went ahead and didn't share all these details with you. And then you're trying to paint and you're running into issues and you don't know what happened. And I've watched 5 YouTube channels. Nobody else had these issues. And I know for a fact that this is the kind of stuff that other painters run into, especially the guys doing it like I do in more of a DIY fashion. I've been around this stuff long enough and had enough conversations with people to know in painting, 2 things. Anything that can go wrong probably will go wrong. And number 2, when you run into a problem, just stop. Don't try to push through. Don't try to compensate. I mean, there's some things you can, yes, but it's better to just stop and reevaluate where you're at and where you need to go, especially when you're doing it like this, where you're not, trying to crank out this vehicle in 5 days and get it back to the customer. We've got time. I would just as soon err on the side of taking my time. The other thing that provides me an opportunity for is I get to go over it all again one more time and make sure that I didn't miss anything else before we start blowing color. There's nothing I hate worse, and I've had this happen. Then you start weighing down the color and you go, oh crap, I missed this, whatever, right there. The more times you can look at it with fresh eyes, the better off you're going to be. Spending the day in the shop is always an unpredictable experience for sure, because you never know what I'm going to be doing and you never know what challenges that we're going to run into. Well, I really do appreciate you being here. I appreciate you spending the day with me. I appreciate you taking the road trip with me. I just really enjoy sharing what I do, how I do it, and just hanging out with you guys as we work on this stuff together. So I really appreciate it. If you're enjoying the channel, share it with other people that you think might enjoy it. Oh, heck, share it with people who might not enjoy it. I don't care. The bigger the channel gets, the more subs we get, the more revenue we generate. It just becomes a snowball. I've been really excited to see the channel growing for the last month, faster than it has in a long time. I feel like we're on the right track. And drop your questions and comments down there. You don't have to agree with the way I do things. I'm just sharing how I do. So while a lot of my videos are entitled How To, they really could be or should be entitled How I Do. And you can learn from that and you can do it differently. It's okay. In most of this stuff, there's no right or wrong way, as long as it looks good when it's done and the paint doesn't fall off on the floor and it lasts. If it works, who's to criticize? That'll do it. We will catch you on the next one. And one more thing around here, it's important. Don't want you to forget, if you're new to the channel, hang on to this because it's important. Rock!